Imagine this. A former president of the United States flying across the desert sands on a Boeing 747 gifted by one of the world's most oppressive regimes. Not the US Air Force, not a government purchase, a gift. Not to the nation, to him. And not just any regime, but Qatar, a known funder of Hamas, currently under global scrutiny for its ties to Islamic extremism. Now picture Donald Trump, the self-proclaimed master negotiator, too foolish to keep his own cover story straight as he bounces between interviews and social media posts, trying to justify what may be the most blatantly corrupt payoff in presidential history. This isn't fiction, this isn't satire, this is what's happening. This video will walk you through Donald Trump's suspicious acceptance, or at least attempted acceptance, of a $400 million Boeing 747 from the authoritarian dictatorship of Qatar. We'll unpack the facts behind this so-called gift, explore Trump's contradictory defenses, and examine the wider implications of accepting such a payoff while pretending it's for the country. We'll dive into the cost to American taxpayers, what it means for national security, and how this jet, likely destined for Trump's personal use, fits into a broader pattern of international grifting. By the end, you'll understand how this one plane represents a microcosm of the Trump era. Corrupt, self-serving, poorly disguised, and dangerously normalized. Let's start with the context. Donald Trump's history of courting authoritarian leaders is not a recent development. His first foreign trip as president in 2017 was to Saudi Arabia, a nation whose regime the CIA later concluded was directly responsible for the brutal murder and dismemberment of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Trump's response to this crime? Business as usual. He defended the Saudi crown prince Mohammed bin Salman, citing economic interests and arms deals. He even publicly stated, "We have to keep doing business with people like that." Not surprisingly, the Trump family was handsomely rewarded. After leaving the White House, Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, despite having no background in investment, was handed $2 billion by the Saudis to manage in a private equity fund. That kind of money isn't an investment in skill. It's a thank you note dressed up as a financial deal. Now Trump's orbit is circling another dictatorship, Qatar. The new scandal centers on a Boeing 747, once owned by the Emir of Qatar. This isn't just any plane, it's a flying palace, a luxury jet worth around $400 million. But it's also a relic, 13 years old, and no longer considered prestigious enough for the Qatari royal family. In essence, it's a cast-off. And Trump wants it. But here's the trick. Trump doesn't want to say it's for him. On social media he shouted in all caps that the jet is a gift to the US Air Force, not to him personally. But just hours earlier, in a Fox News interview with Sean Hannity aboard the real Air Force One, Trump contradicted himself. "Why wouldn't I accept a gift?" he asked. "We're giving to everybody else. Why wouldn't I accept the gift?" No mention of the Air Force, no national interest, just Trump, eager to be on the receiving end. And that's the tell, because when Trump drops the pretense, we see what this is really about. Now, let's examine the actual cost of this gift. The 747 in question is not outfitted to serve as Air Force One. To retrofit the plane with classified communication systems, missile defense countermeasures, and the required security infrastructure would cost over $1 billion, according to NBC News. That doesn't even include the ongoing maintenance and operation costs, which could total hundreds of millions more over the plane's usable lifespan. To be clear, the plane is not free. It's a Trojan horse. Taxpayers would foot the bill to convert it into something usable. And even if Trump tried to rebrand it as part of the Trump Presidential Library, a shell operation likely to double as a personal slush fund, the plane itself would require enormous funding for upkeep. Guess where that funding would come from? Contributions to the library and potentially more taxpayer dollars, depending on how it's positioned legally. What Trump calls free is actually an IOU written to every American citizen. There's also the logistical nightmare. Boeing is already years behind schedule and billions over budget trying to build 2 actual Air Force One aircraft, ordered during Trump's own presidency. Asking them to divert resources to refurbish a used plane, one with entirely different specifications, would not only delay those critical projects even further, but also waste taxpayer dollars on a vanity aircraft for a former president. Make no mistake, this plane will never serve the Air Force. Trump knows it. Qatar knows it. The plan is to somehow smuggle the aircraft into Trump's orbit under the illusion of diplomacy or legacy, and use it as a monument to his brand. It's not about America, it's about Trump. Then there's the security threat. Qatar's ties to terrorist groups like Hamas are well documented. A 747 coming out of Qatari hands and into a US president's possession raises immediate concerns about espionage, surveillance, and backdoors built into the aircraft. What systems are already embedded in that jet? Could it serve as a spying device? Could its structure be compromised? Even Republican lawmakers have raised red flags. Some suggest laws should be passed to prohibit the government from accepting foreign gifts of this scale, especially from hostile or questionable actors. Others worry about how accepting such a gift sets a precedent, that America's highest office is up for auction, and all you need is an aging toy and the right ego to play to. It's important to understand that none of this is accidental. Trump's defense isn't poorly planned, it's purposely absurd. The constant contradiction is part of the strategy. He floods the zone with lies and in the chaos hopes the real scandal gets buried. Trump doesn't need the plane to fly. He needs it to fundraise. He needs it to dominate headlines. He needs it to remind the world, and particularly his followers, that the rules don't apply to him, that he can take gifts from dictators, enrich his family, and still run for office. He's selling a lifestyle of corruption, and he knows there's an audience for it. This Boeing 747 from Qatar is more than a plane. It's a symbol. It encapsulates everything the Trump era has come to mean: the prioritization of personal gain over public service, the normalization of foreign influence, and the reduction of the presidency to a family brand built on audacity, shamelessness, and greed. Whether the jet ever gets delivered or not, Trump's message is clear. He'll take what he wants from whomever offers it, dictators, despots, or allies of terrorists, and he'll dare the American people to stop him. And unless there's enough outrage to push back, that plane might one day soar across the sky not as a tool of American diplomacy, but as a monument to one man's ego, and our collective failure to hold him accountable. Thanks for watching.